She stepped on the scale and just wanted to give up, but she knew that she couldn't, because although as time went on and it felt like nothing was actually changing, it didn't take long before she realized that these tiny steps were slowly building into an unstoppable momentum. But what was it? I mean, how did she drop the 40 pounds? And I know you're going to be shocked when you find out that her journey didn't start with cutting calories. My wife was so discouraged seeing the scale actually hit 182 pounds during her pregnancy for our 4th child. She was really worried and frankly just certain that she was going to be stuck there and that she would not be able to get back down to her original weight. But I, as a good husband should, promised her that she was not stuck there because she had done one thing, which to actually explain properly means we've got to go back in time to our 3rd baby's birth. That was crazy. Now at that point, Krysta was doing plenty of cardio, and sometimes she would do cardio with weights. And this honestly always got her to be able to lose the weight postpartum. But then something happened that she truly did not expect. The scale didn't budge. This hadn't ever happened before. She was just at a loss. Now, knowing what I know, I knew exactly what she needed to do. And unfortunately, it was exactly what she didn't want to do, or at least what she thought she didn't want to do. So I created a specific program for her to actually follow, knowing that with where she's been with her fitness in the past, it would make all the difference. There was one thing missing from her routines: an effective plan to actually build muscle. Muscle was the answer, but how we actually got there is rather interesting. I made sure that she lifted weights with a specific purpose, to be able to lift more each week. I didn't want her going in there and lifting just to feel a burn or get a good sweat. Frankly, I didn't care if she sweat. All that mattered was that she was lifting more. Now this brought up a really core troubling issue for my wife, because as a woman, she wants to be petite, she wants to be lovely and beautiful, not look like a jacked out dude with muscles. So if you are a mom out there, I want you to remember the truth about building muscle. If you start lifting weights, you're not gonna ever be looking like some jacked out guy. It's not in the cards for you, unfortunately. But you do have just as much potential for your body size to add muscle to your body. And I'm gonna talk about why you need to make sure that that's what you're doing if you want to see the same results. But eventually it came to the point where one day I realized we needed to shift gears. So I said, my love, I need you to gain weight.
What?
Yeah, like we need the scale to go up.
No.
Not what she wanted to hear, but it's what she needed to do. And as I was watching her every week, she was increasing the amount of weight that she could lift, which meant only one thing. And then our baby Casey came along, which brings us right back to where we began. Because see, since I'd had her gain weight, she was now super anxious about what the scale was going to show by the end of the pregnancy. Because like most people, she was very focused on the number on the scale. She hit 182 pounds during the pregnancy, which was the most that she had ever weighed before in her life, which was super discouraging. Most people would look at that and say that I failed her. But I had a plan. I knew exactly where this was going. So as soon as she was cleared for lifting, I put her right back into her lifting program, focused again on just getting stronger. And now here's where I had her implement several unique strategies to really make this a lot easier. But first I want to show you what she didn't do. First of all, she did not jump on a treadmill or do a bunch of cardio. Second, she did not take any fat burners. Thirdly, she didn't drastically cut her calories. She didn't even wake up ridiculously early just to be able to get a workout in. And for that matter, she didn't even work out every day. I actually only had her lifting 2 and maybe sometimes 3 days a week. And now also, although it's a great strategy, she didn't even do this by going for walks. But instead, here's what she did do. She focused on building muscle. She also focused on always making sure that she just had water to be able to drink. Constantly hydrating yourself is super important for your body's functionality and just for satiety. Now remember, she's a busy mom of 4 now, also homeschooling, and so some days she just would naturally not eat until around 10 or 11 in the morning, which introduced a little bit of intermittent fasting, but not quite that. It was more like time-restricted feeding, just because she was eating for a much smaller window than she was not eating for. She also ate her lean body weight in grams of protein. She also focused on mostly eating just whole foods, things that fall off a tree, grow from the ground, have walked on the earth or swam in the ocean or something like that. But not people, obviously. Fruit, veggies, plants, and animals. So next she would also drink tea quite often. There's a lot of power behind actually drinking warm liquids and what that does for your satiety. Now, one of the things that just topped everything off was that she actually focused on avoiding foods that actually bothered her gut. So you gotta remember, your gut microbiome will play a massive role into the overall inflammation within your body. And you wanna limit that and limit the stress on your body when you're trying to lose weight. So by avoiding those foods, that gave her an additional boost. And of course, most importantly, she got as much sleep as she possibly could.
Come here. What's wrong, my sweet?
But the real question is, why did I have her do all of these things? And now you might guess why some of them are important, but ultimately these are all serving the goal of keeping her in a calorie deficit. Because yes, we do need to be in a calorie deficit ultimately to be able to actually lose body fat. Now that's simple, but it's not easy. So where the real magic comes in, and it's not really magic, is finding ways and strategies to make it easier for you to be able to stay in a calorie deficit. But even in the midst of all this, things were still moving slow, at least slower than she would have liked. And she wasn't sure that anything was actually working. Week after week, taking progress photos, and almost every morning she'd come down the stairs really discouraged about what the scale was showing, and then we'd have a nice little talk, and I would constantly be trying to encourage her and speak the truth into her to help her mental battle. But of the many things that I actually told her to help encourage her, the most important were simply this: be patient and stay the course. Fat loss, although simple, is a mind battle of a process, and having another voice to be able to guide you will make a world of difference. And so she did. She stayed the course. She was patient. She kept at it. But then came the first glimmer of hope. About 3 months had gone by and she was taking another one of her progress photos. She could finally see it, just the beginnings. But that alone was enough to give her hope to keep going. So she stayed focused and kept moving ahead. But one big lifesaver was actually what I had her do next. Now, when you're trying to lose weight, even if you don't actually feel hungry, there's just this mental hurdle of, now I'm in diet mode. Now there's fear of lack. And even if you're not actually hungry, you might just feel like you need food more. And it's all this mental game. But most of us just have way too many things going on in life to just want to grit our teeth and push through and fight through that mental battle. But I did have some tricks up my sleeve to be able to make this a little bit easier. So occasionally I would actually bump her calories back up to about her maintenance level. This meant just a mental break. It meant relief. It was light at the end of the tunnel. So this could be something that you actually schedule in regularly. It could be something you do every 2 to 3 weeks, maybe just occasionally when you feel like you need it. This could also just be built around events in your life. If you have special occasions or high stress time coming up, you can just know around then you might want to refeed and just go back to maintenance. Now, on top of just giving you a mental break, this can actually temporarily boost your levels of leptin, which is the satiety hormone. Now, although this is short-lived and studies have pretty much shown that it's not going to be that much of an effect that's going to last for several days, but the mental piece of it is so worth it. But now the part that you've been waiting for. Here is what the real secret sauce is. Every day, she just tried to care for herself. And some days that meant lifting, and other days that just meant sleeping in or resting. That looked like eating plenty of protein every day, but also still having some days where she just enjoys some good tasty foods. That was mentally pushing through, not just focusing on the scale and not letting an increase in the number drive her to absolute despair. But none of that on its own is actually what made the weight loss happen. She focused on the one thing that made all the difference. She kept showing up. When you feel stuck, just be patient. I want you to keep showing up. Keep doing the next right thing. Don't get discouraged when it feels like nothing's happening, because I promise you, it is working. You will feel that often. That's what you have to remember. But that is where all the magic actually happens. And as time goes by, you're gonna look back and then you will be able to recognize what you couldn't see then. I can't tell you how many times Krysta felt frustrated or stuck.
It made me feel like I was just never gonna get to where I wanted to be. So honestly, it was really discouraging at some points.
But even in the midst of that, my wife kept showing up.
So what made the difference was that I just kept showing up. I just kept doing what I knew I was supposed to do.
But what happened next was unforgettable. It wasn't too long ago that my wife called me upstairs frantically. At least to me it felt frantic, and of course, like a concerned husband, I like flew up the stairs wondering what on earth was going on, worried that I needed to do something to help. But only to have her hand me her phone and say, Dave, look at the before and afters. And this is what I saw. She felt absolutely grateful and shocked at how much had actually changed when it felt like it never would. And she couldn't help but feel proud of herself for coming this far and just more confident walking in front of the mirror, knowing that she did it. And now when the kids will actually run up and, jump on her lap or give her a big giant hug, and she doesn't feel the need to complain about feeling like the squishy mom anymore. But the one thing that set her on this trajectory to actually losing the 40 pounds was that she first used this program over here to actually start building muscle, and you can actually grab it for free right up over there. As always, be intentional and bring the intensity. I can't wait to see you on the next video.